Love it.
That'll do. Wow. What did we just see in Melbourne? That was a wonderful test match. And I have got Elko with me to chat through it all. Elko, how much did you enjoy that?
Uh, Game of two halves. I didn't particularly enjoy the first half, but my God, that finish was just epic. And everyone was talking about getting a sort of a decider, but having been down by that much and to come back, it's an unbelievable result, and performance was awesome.
Absolutely. And I think you, me, and most of the rugby world was concerned that we weren't going to get a contest. We wanted like a real, proper ding dong of a test match that genuinely could have gone either way to the final second. And that is exactly what we got. So I'm so delighted about that.
Yeah, the only shame was that our little fantasy of Farrell getting a cheeky potential drop goal there at the end, because it was on, wasn't it? It was like, oh my God. I was trying to see where he was, but in fairness, he was just like everybody else, just trying to recycle and not lose the ball.
Yeah, he smashed the second to last rock in some fashion. I think
That's right.
he was the person
Yeah.
that did that. So yeah, I was looking for him as well. But we're going to obviously talk a lot about the Lions throughout this as we're Lions fans. But we have to talk about the Wallabies. I thought they showed up today and were really outstanding in so many facets of the game, not just the incredible physicality that Skelton and Valentini brought, but the accuracy of some of their attacking play and some of their kicking and some of their aerial battles. I thought they were really excellent today.
Oh, I mean, it was night and day from last week, wasn't it? It was clearly, I think the thought around them targeting test two and three, I think it's clear that's exactly what they were doing. They were immense. They tore us to shreds. I mean, they really did, and it wasn't like fluky. Yes, the whole intensity was better. Obviously, it was you could feel it, right? They were just winning the gain line. They had momentum. They niggle. It was just unbelievable. But also then as Joe Smith said after, because someone said to him, "Oh, you must be a lot. You've proved that Australia has heart and all this stuff." And he's like, "Yeah, but hang on, we proved we can play." Like, and they played some absolutely scintillating stuff. Some of the line breaks for the tries were just unbelievable.
Yeah, completely. I'm going to go back to what you said in the middle of that, though, which was the niggle, because I love to see it. It should be there in every test match. Rugby is about physical intimidation and getting in people's faces. And Skelton whacked Furlong late
Yeah.
after the whistle, and that led to an early bust up. And all of it, I loved it all. I thought the referee dealt with it very well as well, by the way.
He had a player of the match, some might say. He had a good game, didn't he? I thought he refereed really, really well. And yeah, there was that which made me giggle on Skelton on Furlong, which he was a little bit late, and the way he dealt with the referee was really good as well. I didn't think the way Marrow dealt with it was a little bit on the mic, sort of. Oh, they started it as like, oh, really? Come on now. And then Genge got one as well, didn't he, in the second half? But it was really cool. I thought where the lines were just so cool and steady. They didn't. Okay, it kind of kicked off, but they didn't, give away penalties from reacting to that. They just kind of took it on board, and they, from me, they just stayed calm all the way through, even though it looked like the whole wheels were falling off the wagon.
Yeah, completely. Because you do have to defend yourself in those situations. You do have to stand up for yourself, but you can't do it by throwing punches anymore. That's long gone. But I thought the Lions absolutely stood up for themselves, and I agree. Like composure wise, they did really well because there were several times when things were not going to plan. Like the passes were just a little bit off, which meant a lot of attacking play was stunted. But I felt they didn't force it today. I felt they stayed composed in many, many areas of the game, even when it wasn't going their way. So that was a massive sort of thumbs up in such a big game that they managed to do that.
Yeah, and even really simple things like uh, Finn Russell's kicking to touch from penalties. I mean, the guy's got massive set of balls. I mean, it was just he went for every time. Like he didn't take anything off it, and they were that one when Keith had to come out and look to see. And I was like, "Oh my God, he's hit it too long." It was absolutely pin perfect. He did like two or three of them, and the long kickoff when he saw they weren't there. He was. They all made mistakes today. to a man. Made some really weird errors. Byrne made some weird errors where he passed the ball behind, he dropped balls, and Lowe made errors, and Hugo made errors, but they all had massive, big game moments as well. All of them. It was quality. I think all of them could probably we could get a highlight reel of probably some massive mistakes, and then but keeping cool. And this whole thing about playing big, I think you could see it that Farrell apparently was saying, where they weren't afraid to go for it. Even things like line out throws and taking difficult options, even when Kelleher was on, which we were a little bit worried about. It was brilliant.
Yeah, completely agree. Okay, we've talking generally quite a lot there. Let's talk about some specifics. The Dan Sheehan try, I thought, was a really, really intelligent piece of play because we have seen him all these tap penalties in the series and the tour, I think, so far. He's basically done like a quarterback sneak. He's just tried to get as much ground as he can and then hit the ground before even engaging in a tackle, pretty much, just to create a quick ruck for the next phase. This time, having done it once about 2 minutes previously, he didn't exactly jump. He just kept his body height like at a reasonable level, dived for the line, and went straight over the top of an Australian tackler.
Yeah, TG, awesome stuff. I mean, I've got four things written down, and that one's super Dan. I've got written down, and exactly to your point is that he that was made. He knew he was scoring that try. He knew it. You could see in his face he was smiling as he because he it was exactly what he said. It was they had obviously practiced it. They would have seen him 2 seconds before he just done that quarterback sneak as you rightfully describe it as, and he knew. Now, uh, there's no question it's a try because he's in the act of scoring, and this is one of these wonderful bits of weird stuff that happens in rugby. I would imagine they're gonna have to change the law, like because in theory people they'll be doing that all over the shop now. So that I think refs will have to kind of have a look at that and kind of go, but it doesn't matter what's in the future. It's about genius play by him and probably not just him. I would imagine that somebody's probably had a little word or they copied it from somewhere else. It was absolutely class from him. Super Dan.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the law is going to change. I think it's the law's correct, and we've seen people do this. Like we see it at the ruck all the time. Like Atoji tried it last week in the Test match. He didn't score, but he essentially dived over the top of the ruck to score. It's the same thing. So I just think it was really smart to set it up with all those like quarterback sneaks before going for the one where he just dived for the line instead. It was magic. Um,
So
let's
we'll
talk
end
about.
up we'll end up with we'll end up like American football where they'll have to have somebody in behind that jumps at the same time to stop the guy scoring, basically. So, 'cause you're not going to be able to stop it. Madness.
Yeah. Well, just make the tackle. I mean, the Australian was basically lying on the floor when Sheehan went over the
Yeah,
top of him. So you've just got to
all of
react
them.
and do
Yeah,
what's in front of you, not just assume what's going to happen. Anyway, it is
yeah,
what it is. It was a great try, and
brilliant try.
so but Australia were still ahead at that point because they kicked two penalties. Probably quite a bad miss, I would say, from Russell for that one. It hit the post with that one when it was very kickable. Australia still ahead, and then they scored soon afterwards again. Like the Lions just bringing a bit of pressure on themselves with ill discipline and just a little bit raggedy around rucks and stuff like that. James Slipper getting over for the try, and I loved that movement that he did when he just sort of like drove low and then managed to just up and extend his body over the line. It was a great try, but the bit I want to really ask about is that Freeman got yellow carded in the same phase of play. They were playing penalty advantage. The Lions had already been warned. What did you make of that?
Uh, I thought it was the right decision. I think the ref had a really strong game. He warned them, and you've got to reward the team who's on top and putting their bodies on the line and winning those collisions. And that's exactly what Australia were doing. They were dominant. They were the better team. We could not deal with it. We just couldn't deal with it. Now, most of the time we were making tackles, we did slip off quite a few. Skelton was just a man mountain. He's just an unbelievable specimen. And I think, the fact that we had been warned a good few times by the referee, then I think it's fair enough. It doesn't have to be that, it's a foul you do in the act or you often see it with a penalty try someone has to go to the bin. I thought it was really brave and strong refereeing and probably led to more discipline from both teams later on down the line.
I agree. We've seen it a few times in recent years. I would say that yellow card instance when a team is scoring as well. And I think it's correct as well. I think it aids the game. It makes players be more disciplined, and it rewards a team that is playing the attacking rugby. Talking of attacking rugby, Australia was certainly doing that. And we talked about the fact that they were brave to play. Tom Wright epitomised that shortly afterwards when he broke from, in his 22, I think, got it to, who was it on the left wing by that stage? Was it the scrum half that come on, wasn't it?
I think
I'm
it was,
searching for
yeah.
it.
McDermott.
McDermott, thank you. McDermott got up the left flank, and then Wright came again in the second phase of play and kicked the 50-22. That was a massive swing at that point of the game. Australia had just scored, and then they looked like they were going to get caught deep in their territory. And Australia really brave, really sort of accurate with their play, and it was a brilliant play from all involved in that one.
Yeah, again, I thought they played very clever stuff and it had Joe written all over it. That wasn't just the guys playing. I think you could see where they were trying to get to. We've spoken about this often. It's very much how we play and how Andy Farrell's teams play, but just trying to get to that outside edge and doing little just and uh, they were going after Bundy and Jones without a doubt. Like you could see they're going after them, and Bundy got beaten on the outside quite a few times with pace and had to get bailed out a few times. But yeah, they were brave. They played some really good stuff, and I was texting with Harty in Dublin, and sort of we were both like, we're in massive trouble here. Like the you could everything they did was coming off. Everything we did was just it just wasn't working. Stupid little knock-ons, whatever, or piggybacking penalty, penalty, penalty. And everything they touched was literally, turn into Aussie gold sort of thing. And it felt like it was all slipping away. And we got slippered as well, as you said earlier.
Nice play. And the continual battering which was going on at this stage, I described it in the video that I did earlier. It was like watching somebody going up against George Foreman, where he's just getting battered and battered and slowing down. And that led to the Jake Gordon try, as the Lions forwards would just look like they slowly turned into concrete, to be honest, as they were trying to move around the ruck. Gordon spotted the gap beside the ruck and was scooted through, and suddenly it was 23 points to 5. And, if you were worried before that, definitely worried after that. Sorry, that was 18 points to 5 for that try.
Was that the one when the referee ran a lovely blocking line uh, on
It's a good
Porter?
tip. It's a good tip for players. Like,
Yeah.
run up where the referee is.
Run at the referee.
The referee's got to stand somewhere, and he's got no obligation to the defence. His only
Yeah,
obligation is to get out of the way of the attacking player. So he absolutely did that. Maybe his initial position could
yeah.
have been better, but if you see it there in the defensive line, go for it.
Go for it. And any kids watching, if you're a porter there, you run through the referee and tough on the referee. You push him out of the way, sort of thing. Yeah, it was clever play, and as I said, you could just feel, couldn't you, the momentum they had. And the crowd was a little bit, ooh, obviously so many, what was it, 50 odd thousand lines there. You could just feel. I was really anxious. Although, in fairness, but what kept me going was some of the basics that we clearly had the edge in the scrum, which actually from last week I was really surprised with that we went after them, and I felt really that gave me lots of hope. And obviously, so we haven't said. We just mentioned him, McDermott, with him coming on so early with their right winger getting the hammy gone. It was like they're in trouble here. And we knew that Skelton wasn't going to last the full 80. So that in my head, I was thinking, Jesus, we're in massive trouble here. But Scrums looks really good. They've had an injury in the backs, which means if anything else happens now, they're in big, big trouble with a 6-2. And yeah, their big boys are going around gas. And then we've got a ridiculous bench to come on. So I was very worried, but yeah,
And it has to be said, Tate McDermott did fantastically well today. I thought his
quality.
carrying, in particular, on the ball, I thought he was absolutely unreal. And he's obviously a nuggety, little guy that like gets around and makes his tackles and does everything. I thought they didn't really look any weaker, to be honest, with him on the pitch. But you're right, it's the knock-on effect of potentially another injury in the backs. As if you were feeling confidence then shortly afterwards, again the Australians just showing incredible confidence as Jorgensen caught the kickoff, beat 4 players in a post box, got away for a little bit, and then the Australians were up the middle with Suoliti taking the break, getting it to right for a try basically that was the whole length of the pitch. And I can imagine if you're an Australian in the MCG at that moment, you are going absolutely wild.
Yeah, there was a few of them in the crowd, weren't they, standing up with their beers? I think they've been in there since two o'clock this afternoon. Yeah, it was, and that was a worry, right? Because in some respects, you kind of go, "Have we showed up here?" Like for him to be able to beat uh, so many people just on a little spin there, and you're like, "Come on, that's not acceptable at this level." Um, but it was just fine play, right? It was quality play. They followed up and they finished really well. And as I say, it just felt like everything was going their way, and we've played in games of that, and just you feel tired, and you can see the guys chasing back, not giving up, but it's like, I mean, I'd love to know what was been said underneath the post with Maro and stuff. Presumably, it was just believe it will come back to us.
Yeah, well, Hugh Jones was asked that afterwards, and he said, as cliche as it is, it was this. What they were saying was next
Next
job,
job.
which is exactly the right thing. That's all you can do. Absolutely, all you can do. I wondered with that Suya Lee break. Actually, I've seen it a couple of times since. Tom Curry was the guy who was closest, and he just overcommitted to that inside runner. I thought he looked a little bit leggy, like he maybe could have bounced out a little bit quicker. But I'm not sure. Maybe that was a bit of a harsh criticism. And you're right, though. At this point, it did look like it was a very hard thing for the Lions to get back into, but they got a break. Liner dropped a high kick, which was a relatively quite an easy catch, really, and that gave the Lions an entry. Freeman carried really well back on the pitch after his yellow card, and eventually Gibson Park darted back down the blind side to give Conan, actually great hands from Conan as well, to put Curry in the corner. And I think it was really important that the Lions scored so quickly after that most recent Australian try.
Yeah, yeah, it was a massive hit back, and it was funny because it was a possession stroke territory game. If you had the ball, you tended to make ground. We had very little ball, to be honest. They were just like just keep, and every time we had the ball, we coughed up with those little mistakes, or we gave away a penalty, which was just, it compounded everything. But every time we were there, it felt like, oh god, we'd score for fun, sort of thing. But Jameson Gibson Park is, you know, I, I know there's a really amazing French injured nine, who's not around currently, but he is got to be the best nine in the world at the moment. He's so intelligent. The way he read that, the way he looks, he can just read a D, and then you're right, Conan, beautiful hands, and Curry had a bit to do there, right? He had to, sort of finish that off well, and did, and you're right though, that was sort of crucial that we hit back so quickly, to sort of get belief and get the crowd going again.
Yeah, and just going back to the niggle and the stuff that was going on, sort of slightly off the ball in the phase previous to that, Skelton whacked Ty Burn in the tackle, and then as he landed on top of him, he put his hand right on his throat and held him down by the throat, which is why those two were
Oh,
scuffling afterwards. Again, I don't mind it. You put a big hit in, you go like, I've dominated you here. It is what it is.
big time, and the game. He's one of these proponents of this stuff that, when we speak about dark arts back in our day, it was different, right? Because you could get away with a lot more. There was a lot more violence and stuff like that. Now it's about sort of lying on guys. You're trying to drain energy from them all the time. If you just player cam him and just watch what he does at rucks. He's on top of people. You're right. He's got a hand there. You'll have a hand there. He'll just be a nose, but you're always expending energy with him. Or you're looking up to see where is he, because he's going to come in and just torpedo somebody in a ruck, right? Legally, but you're always worried, right? So you're always on sort of, he's awesome. I really like. I don't think he's that wrong. I agree with you. I think it's fair play. It's nothing illegal. Fair play to him.
Yeah, absolutely. We've already mentioned this already. Ruttle's kicks for touch. There was another one shortly afterwards that got the Lions deep in Wallaby territory. And again, I've mentioned this bit already as well. They weren't very clinical. They weren't very well oiled as they attacked the Wallaby line, but they stayed really patient with it. And just they had sort of patience ahead of organisation almost, and just managed to maintain possession and pressure. And that was when Keenan got Jones over for his try. And at half time, 23-17, after the way that first half had planned out, I think the Lions would have ripped your hand off for that scoreline.
Yeah, and I'll probably get abused for this because we do have quite a few Irish that watch this. Um, but I feel that since Owen Farrell's come in and watching him playing and watching what he's been really good at is he's just been really calm and patient. And to steal Rogers' sort of thing, he's let the ball do the work. And you can see that, and it's you're not trying to do. Although there was bits where we were trying to throw some crazy miracle passes and things like that, but at that level, with that excellence on the pitch, it is just about doing just really simple stuff because you know the guy's going to be running nice lines off you. Um, the likes of a Jones and Keenan put him away, sort of thing. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'm right with that, but it just felt like we've just calmed everything down, and there's a strong zeal and belief that if you just do the right things, it will happen. I know Martin Johnson was in during the week, and that was kind of his messaging was just do the simple things well and get them done, and then things will happen to you. Although they are probably not thinking about that when they're 18-5 down.
Definitely not. However, at half time or shortly after, I should say, I think this was a really big turning point in the game because the Australians made three substitutions in their forwards. Slipper and Alatoa, who I thought overall had good games. Alatoa actually carried the ball really well as well. But most importantly, Bobby Valentini off at half time. I'm sure they were hoping to get more than a half out of him. And he was so influential in that first half. It just felt to me like that could have been a big moment. That being said, Langy Gleeson came on and did really well himself.
He did, yeah. He played well. He played well. Massive law. Valentini was apt from the very first one. I think there was a long line out, and he got the ball and he just ran straight at Russell and whacked him. Now, fair dues, Russell got up and went, haha, sort of said, "Yeah, I'm up there." Russell's D, to be fair, again was crazy for a 10. Prendergast needs to go and have whatever he's having for breakfast in the future. He doesn't mind getting stuck in at all. But that must have been a huge loss for them. And let's be really clear about this. So I watched a bit of the post as well with some of the players, and they were talking about how they uh, made some mistakes and then in the second half, started to get on top of the Aussies and started to win the collisions. And this is what they didn't say was Valentini and Skelton came off. That was the game. I don't think it was about the lines suddenly getting. It was they were gone. They weren't there anymore. And then all of a sudden, it was like watching last week again, where Liner was getting no options. He'd no front ball. He was getting caught behind. The whole momentum shift changes. But that huge lot to any team to lose those two boys. And interesting. I don't know what you did. Did you think it was a bit weird that they also changed the two props?
Yeah, I was surprised to see that at half time because
Yeah,
I
it
thought
was.
they had the one bad scrum, the very first one, but I thought the scrum overall was pretty well balanced. It was only that one that they melted, but then when the two guys came on, the Lions definitely took the scrum away in the second
Oh,
half for sure.
yeah, and even it's the pictures. What did the referee see? Pictures, and the ref's no mug. When he saw those two guys came on, and then all of a sudden that very first scrum they got blottoed. It's like, oh, and then we started to get penalty, right? Um, yeah, I think that was a bit. So we don't know. It might have been injuries or stuff. It was. I thought they might have waited a little bit longer.
Yeah, I would have too because Robertson, particularly on the tight head, I mean, we could see that side of the scrum more. He was on his knee on almost every single scrum and didn't always get penalised for it. So he was, yeah, it was pretty much illegal on most scrums, I would say. However, the next 20 minutes of the game was kind of a little bit after that incredible frenzy of a first half to be within one score of each other. I felt like there was a lot of kind of jostling for position, almost don't want to lose the game in this part of the match, and it all sort of slowed down a little bit. Like it was almost like everybody took a breath. But the Lions did give away another penalty, and this was a really dumb one, I thought, from Bundy Aki. He was there at the ruck. The referee had spoken to him a couple of
So
times,
annoying.
like, get your hands off the ball, and you've got to be listening. As a player in that position, the single focus has got to be, what is the referee saying to me? And Aki looked up at him and still kept his hands on the ball, and the referee was right, like, I've got to give a penalty, and that was 26-17, put them more than a score ahead, and it was absolutely avoidable.
It was really, really dumb and incredibly frustrating watching. Completely agree. I was going mental. Like, what are you doing? It's not like he couldn't hear the referee because the crowd is quite far away, right? So he literally was saying, "Let go." And he's literally looking at him lifting the ball. I mean, what is he doing? If we'd lost that game, I mean, Aki be dropped. I mean, he might not be fit anyway with his calf, but that's almost a droppable offence for me. It's like, what are you doing? It's just dumb. Although he was quality later on.
Yeah, he did have a lot of quality moments as well, which I think is the story of the day, really, because you could say that about so many of the players. Tom Curry was excellent, but he had a couple of moments where I thought, oh, you've dropped off that tackle, or you haven't quite nailed that. However, we'll get towards the end of the game in a minute, but if Curry hadn't have done what I'm about to talk about, we might not have got to that stage, because this is when Australia won an aerial battle on the right-hand touchline. The ball got moved back into the midfield and they were piling through us. It looked like there was a very good chance to score, but Curry trapped back, tackled Suoli from behind, and the ball was knocked on, which halted that attack. If they'd scored there, that could have been a very long way back for the Lions.
Big time. It would have halted our momentum, right, and given them belief. And it was, you're right, it was a really weird period because it felt to me like we were going to win it now. We were going to go on and win it. And I was looking at the clock going, I think we've got quite a lot of time left. We'll be fine. We're going to win this. But the clock just started to kind of disappear. And I'm like, hang on, are we going to win this? But yeah, Curry, as usual. And yeah, we said this a few times. It's weird. If you did player ratings for all of the players, you could probably give our guys a 3 and a 10. Like the stupid stuff. And then, wow, like amazing stuff. I don't know if this, whether you're going to, I don't know if this has already happened, but Hugo Keenan keeping the ball in when they had kicked, uh, which would have been, I think, a 50-22, and he got back. That I was like, how has he done that? And by the way, I am not his biggest fan, O'Keefe. But as touch judge, for him to call that without TMO was incredible. Like, it was that close. What an amazing bit of play.
Yeah, he did so well to get out of there, to keep the ball in play, and then to get a decent clearance as well. Again, pivotal moments, really. Huge pressure switch that could have been. It could have been a massive swing in the game, but he defended it. He defended it really well in the end. Now, we talked about Bundy Aki just a second ago, and we've also talked about how the Lions' attack was often quite clunky, but they found a bit. It was about the 60th minute. They got their shape really nice and tight. They got the passes really short and accurate. And Bundy Aki took the gap all the way up the middle of the park into Australian territory. A load more carries. They looked quite accurate. Genge had come on the pitch by now and was
Yeah,
skittling people around, hitting really good lines. And eventually, James Lowe got a wide pass from Gibson Park, got the chicken wing offload to Ty Burn, who still had a huge amount to do to
mm,
score in the corner. He beat 3 players to score in about 3 yards. And that was a massive, massive moment. What was equally as massive was the fact that Russell then kicked the touchline conversion to get us back within 2 points at 26-24.
yeah, it was just unbelievable, wasn't it? Genge was, how good was Genge when he came on? Not just in the loose, but in set play as well. He had your man on toast, and they were clever. I thought the Aussies were clever in how they dealt with that, and sort of, I wonder, was that early kind of wait on purpose? But yeah, when I was watching, when Lowe got the chicken wing out to Burn, in my head, I'm like, he's going to throw it back inside because there's no way he's scoring. There's like three, at least two defenders, maybe three, and I'm like, he's
Three.
going to three. Yeah, I'm like, he's got to go because he's going to get hit into touch, and he's just got to give the ball back inside, and then he scored. Like, unbelievable finish. That was quality.
It was so good. Now let's talk about the skipper, because he got the Player of the Match award, and I've already sort of mentioned that he gave a few penalties away early in the game. So, like, I was thinking that he's having a decent game, but not magic. But he did start making some like genuine tackles in the second half. And I don't know if you noticed this, but Itoji really doesn't make orthodox tackles very often. Like, he's always grabbing or smashing people with his chest, that kind of thing. But he actually got his back flat and properly hit a few people in the second half. That, alongside with winning a turnover penalty, he won a turnover at a maul as well, which gave us another entry. His influence in that last 20 minutes, I thought, just soared. It went through the roof.
Yeah, he did. He was quite. I thought he was. thought he was quite quiet. I felt that obviously with the history with him and Skelton at Saracens, and they both know each other very well. I felt that he felt that he was the guy that had to take him on a bit. And there was yeah, there was just a weird kind of chemistry there, because you're not going to be no one's going to beat that man, right? In a physical guy, you can stare at him all you like. He's just enormous, sort of thing. And again, when Skelton came off, then I think Marrow came more into the game and was able to dominate, and yeah, had some crucial. That turnover was massive. Thought he was slightly kind of at an angle, but the referee was right there, and they didn't clear him. So if you don't clear him, then you run the risk.
Yeah, absolutely. By now, most of the bench was on, including Will Stewart. We've already talked about him regarding that scrum. What about him going off to change his boot? I can only imagine his boots torn. That's the only thing I can think of.
100%. So uh, Furlong is never getting those boots back. They are there it is. I've written down here. I was crying laughing. I've seen that happen so many times at lower level, right? Normally it's like someone who has, like a friend of ours, Colin, was probably having his 50-year-old boots with tape around them, and then next thing there's no sole left and the studs are there or whatever. I presume that's what happened. Did he change both or just one? I
Just
couldn't.
one,
Just
just
the
the
one.
right one.
So he had
Yeah,
so he had a left ankle old school like weird Mizuno boot, and then he had these mad crazy Joker boots they're all wearing. That's like a Harlequin boot that's all coloured. I was like, that's so funny. Then he scrummed, and then he made that break. I
it
was
was
like, he's
amazing.
never getting that boot back. Never getting that boot back.
It was so funny. I
But
mean,
he's
people,
drinking out of it tonight.
if you're listening to this and you've never played in the front row, it's hard to imagine what pressure goes through the boot itself. Like they are so strained, unbelievably strained. So that does happen. That's happened to me several times
Yeah,
throughout my playing career, but I've never seen that happen in a test match, especially at such a crucial moment when a scrum had already collapsed once, it'd been reset once, and this was like,
that's
it
right.
felt like it's going to be the moment. It didn't turn out that way, but it felt like it was at the time.
Yeah, and it's unusual like that. That's why I was asking. I thought it was only one boot, and as you say, it was only one boot, and that makes it even weirder because as a front row, that's pretty crazy having two different boots on. Surely you'd want kind of some kind of symmetry there. Presumably they're the same size. How did you know as well? Like what happened? I want to know, why did he not have spare boots?
All of
This
those
is weird.
questions. Yeah.
All of those questions. I'm like, but I just hope he's in Oz tonight, just drinking out of that shoe for the.
Oh, so funny, so funny. And as you rightly said in that preamble there, he played a key role in what happened next because the Lions got the ball. I'm pretty sure they started from within their own territory. I haven't seen it back again, but it was from deep, if not.
Yeah,
And they just played. They played and played. They found a little bit of action. They found like some accuracy. They found some go forward, and they just played to space. And they just kept momentum and just kept going. And then they got Kinghorn sort of round the outside on the right hand side and over sort of
he was
basketball
good.
pass from Finn Russell, came back the other ways, three unbelievable ruck clears in a row, and suddenly Keenan's got a one-on-one against Len Ekitau 5 meters from the line, and he's always going to have enough, like guile and drink, to just get over the line from there. Most importantly, in 79 minutes and 11 seconds, I want to say.
Mm,
So whatever happens, as long as Finn Russell doesn't take the
came
kick
over.
too quickly, there's not going to be a restart. So absolutely wild finish to the game. Anything you want to pick out from that final try?
Yeah, well, just again to say, like Stewart's run was just. He's done it a few times, you know. I've seen him kind of. He's got some gas, and just the way he if you flash back last week to Jones getting stopped and then getting up too quick, it was ballsy what he did. Like because props don't know if they've been held or not. So he's like, "Oh my god, I've got the ball," and to get up and he kind of looked and went, "Whoa, still going," sort of thing. And then Kinghorn, I thought was awesome. He looked up for it. He did it. I thought some of the kicking accuracy for him to go and chase was poor, and he probably would have had more success if the kicks had been better. But he looked dangerous, didn't he? He looked every time he kind of took it over. And then you're right, to come a little jink over the top, and then they came back. And I mean, Keenan's a bit of a crowbar, isn't he? He doesn't often pass, sort of thing, and he needed he needed to finish that. But again, just stealing off the back of what Roger was saying after, saying if anyone deserved it, probably he did. Keenan did, having had such a terrible illness at the beginning and losing nearly 2 weeks, and to fight back and get his place and just consistent, isn't he? He's a super, really lovely kid as well. I think just not too big on himself or anything like that. Brilliant finish. What a great finish.
Yeah, unbelievable finish. And we have to talk about the ruck clear out from Jack Morgan on Carlo
Yeah.
Tizano, who got himself into a fantastic potential Jacqueline position. Had he got round totally legally? Not entirely sure. Were his shoulders above his hips, as they must be according to law? Again, something that almost never gets refereed. When that clear out happened, I immediately went, great clear out, because it was. They hit him so hard, straight back over the ruck. But when it came to the replay, obviously, Harry Wilson was straight in at the referee talking about it. Tizano had made sure that everybody thought he had his head hit by diving backwards and clutching his head. I was initially nervous because in years gone past, in recent years, we have certainly seen clear outs like that penalised. However, I feel like the referee it's swung back now to being more understanding what the game of rugby is all about. And sometimes there will be marginal head contacts in very low dynamic situations like that. And it wasn't actually foul play. And I think the referee, the way he spoke about it, I thought he absolutely nailed it.
Yeah. When it was happening, uh, I saw the reaction of the Aussie players, and I could hear and I was straight away texting Harty on, is this going to TMO? Before anything, I was like, is this going to TMO? There's something going on. So you could see in the background, we were celebrating. You could see something in the background. I was like, what's going on? I hadn't seen it full. Then I saw it and I was like, what are we looking at? I don't understand what we're looking at. That's a clear out. It's not illegal. There's no way. Where was he? He couldn't have got any lower. And I think for me, I don't know what was going on in the ref's head, right? But for me, if you milk a penalty like that, all bets are off. That's not on the spirit of the game. The way he clutched his head and everything else, ridiculous. And we shouldn't be rewarding players in that, because that's just going to get silly. We're going to get like football. I don't want that to go there. We need to stay strong in our values, sort of thing. And I thought the referee, we alluded to it earlier, and I was kind of thinking about this. I thought he had a really strong game. I did. I'll be honest, my heart was in my mouth because. Um, if it was a different referee that was on the touchline today, who we have next week, I don't know. I don't know, because some guys make mad decisions, right? And we spoke about Roman 8 years ago, sort of making a mad decision because he didn't want to. He just wanted to draw on series. He didn't want to decide, and it would have been really easy for the referee. You've got to give him plaudits here, because it could have been really, really easy for them to go, well, the series is still live. I haven't decided the series. Let's just chuck, say it was a penalty, and they win. So that was really strong, clear refereeing. I hand on heart, I just didn't see anything wrong. I just didn't see foul play at all.
Yeah, I agree. However, every Australian pundit that I've seen so far since has absolutely categorically said that it was foul play because he got made contact with him above the line of the shoulders, including Joe Schmidt as well, the Australian coach. Now, if and they on one of the Aussie broadcasts, they put it
Whose
up on the screen,
shoulders?
Tizano's shoulders, and it probably was. It probably did catch him slightly on the back of the neck. However, right, if we refereed the law as it's written in every single situation, we would not have a game. We would not have a game at all because there'll be penalties in every single ruck, every single tackle, pretty much. So
Yeah,
it's up to the referee to decide what actually
yeah.
happened and decide was that a clear legal or attempted legal clear out, and it absolutely was, in my opinion. If there was contact with the head or the back of the neck, it was marginal. Yeah, it was a very physical clear out, but if they both bent right down like that, very low. I just thought he nailed it. I thought he got it really right.
I thought he nailed it, and actually, we should actually. It was one of my four things. Jack Morgan, absolute legend. I thought he played so well. Can you imagine if they had a reverse, had I given that a penalty, and the stuff that would be going on and whatever, it would have been absolutely awful. I'm just so glad for him and Welsh fans in general, just like they had someone there, and it's important, right? And but
Yeah,
I think he did loads of stuff when he came on, all probably unseen, and yeah, again, it'd be probably worth having a look at him player cam. And I thought it was he got so low to clear him out. And I know Sam Warburton would probably be biased as a Welshman, but like he was just like the guy. He couldn't have got any lower. He just couldn't have got
yeah.
any lower. I heard Joe had said. I thought they were saying it was something to do with the fact he had hands on that changes the whole dynamic of it. But I'm
Hmm.
if it was the other way around, maybe you'd be. I don't know. All I can say is, generally, honestly, when I saw it first time, I just went, I don't know what we're looking at. Where is the foul play? I thought we were going to see a neck roll or something.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, talking about Jack, he was the one that cleared out the ruck on the far side as well. About two rucks previously, he was the first player to that ruck as well. So, like, he was everywhere. He carried the ball well. He made some really good tackles as well. I was also personally delighted for him that he had that opportunity in that moment to show what he's shown all tour as well, because he's has been excellent, and it was great to see the camera on him when that decision was being made because he was like obviously looking nervous, and then he just smiled and gave a little fist pump. It's like, yes,
Thank
right,
God.
Elko. That's the game. That's all done. But most importantly, what's going to happen post game now? I saw a lovely little bit with Luke Cowan-Dickie, like just jiggling Hugo Keenan up and down at the end of the game, like really sort of
Yes.
spoiling him. I love that little moment. But I want to know from you, who do you think's going to lead the party tonight? If you were out there with them, whose coattails would you be on?
Oh God. Whose coattails would I be on? um, Andy
There's a
Farrell,
few,
probably.
there's a few, isn't there? To be fair, there's a few candidates
I
in
think
that spot. I think.
think Faz likes them to have a few beers, doesn't he? Yeah, I'd say that, like, my only thing would be now, as as a former member of coaching staff, my only thing would be there's an awful lot of young lads. Pollock seemed to have had a few gargles beforehand with his hat on backwards, and McCarthy also. I was looking at him; he seems quite lucid, or sorry, loose. I would say Bundy would be great, a great person to be with tonight, and presumably, what time is it there now? It's probably getting bright there now. I'd say they're probably still out and will be for the next day or two.
Yeah, but Blair Kinghorn's the one I'd pick. I think he's quietly
Would you?
very yeah. I think he's big on the party scene. I think he'll go for it. Okay, but we mentioned it briefly there. What about next week? Because uh, it's been almost 100 years since the Lions have won a Test series. So that has got to be huge motivation for them to go out and get another win next week.
Massively. My only concern is Australia and what Joe Smith does with selection. That's my only concern. Because I think he's hurting it right now, and I think he's a bit miffed with the end of the game. You could tell that. He probably needs to have a little sleep on it. I'd say if he was picking the team right now, he would rest all them, knowing that they're going to Joburg in a week, 6 days after the test, right? I hope for the good of the rugby he doesn't do that, because that'd be just appalling. I would like to think that they'll come out and give it a real go. They can see how rattled we were, and I suppose it depends if the guys we spoke about earlier are fit. But I really hope that they don't do that and they do come out. And I'd imagine that actually, I think Farrell will probably stick to his guns and be pretty consistent with his selection, going after number three, and doing a whitewash, is my feeling.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think the Lions will certainly be doing that. I think based on fatigue and lots of other things that we probably will see a number of changes next week, but I still think it will be the strongest 23 absolutely that the Lions can field without question. Okay, folks, this has been a lengthy one, but there was a lot to talk about in that and lots of fun things as well. So let us know what you think in the comments down below. As always, keep it respectful. The referee was certainly doing the best he could on the day, as were all the players. So we respect that, and we sort of talk about the game in good spirit. Give this video a thumbs up while you're down there. If you don't mind, it helps other great rugby fans like you find it. And Elko, as always, thank you so much today, mate, for your insight and humour.
Thank you, TT. Really, I'm so happy. Really, really am happy. And yeah, let's roll on and do it 3-0 next week.
Come on. And people at home, you can subscribe there. You can watch that one next. Don't forget to get out and play. Pull, 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 pull.